Welcome back to Startup Health Now, the podcast where we celebrate the entrepreneurs and the innovators who are transforming health. I'm your host, Logan Plaster. Today's guest is longtime health transformer Sathya Elumalai, CEO and founder of Aidar Health. I wanted to showcase this conversation Sathya and I had at Vive in Los Angeles to highlight innovation in respiratory health. If you're healthy, it's easy to take for granted the ability to take a deep breath in and breathe back out. But when that ability is taken away, it can lead to a host of serious problems. According to a study in JAMA, 480 million people around the world have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, a condition that constricts the airways and makes it difficult to breathe. Sathya, our guest today, has taken a very novel approach to COPD and really the power of breath in general. His team has created the MouthLab, which is the first breath-based device that can measure more than 10 vital signs. Their approach is fascinating because it's really a platform for a myriad future biometrics that come from the breath, from your lips, and saliva. Aidar Health got FDA clearance last year, and as you'll hear, they're working on some interesting use cases for their technology. Let's get into it. Sathya, great to see you.
Hey Logan, fantastic to see you again. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah. It has been really interesting to just watch your progression. You've built this fascinating device, which you brought, called the MouthLab. Takes all these different vitals in a moment through your breath. Something I want to start by talking about is the power of breath. Kind of why breath? Because there are some other folks in the market who are thinking about this idea of biometrics, and they're taking a different tack. But you have a unique angle where you breathe into this device. So maybe you could kind of show us how it works and explain why breath is powerful in taking our vitals.
Absolutely. I've introduced our device in many cases. So this is our device. It's a breathalyzer. So you breathe into the device, like generally hold the device, place it in the mouth, and breathe into it normally for the first 30 seconds, and then you perform the lung function test, which is essentially taking a deep inhale and forceful exhale. A lot of people know of spirometer, which is what is inbuilt into this tech. So why breath? Because breath is kind of considered as the mirror of the body. So there's a lot of biomarkers or volatile compounds, right? Mostly a lot of people go to a lab, they take a blood test, and then there's hundreds and thousands of information that you can get from a blood test. But that's more invasive. What is non-invasive? We always looked into it, and one of the things that we found was a mouth is a great place to collect key health information because of the access to breath and saliva. And for us, we as a company wanted to actually focus on collecting hundreds and thousands of health information rapidly from an individual versus collecting one or two parameters that are continuously monitored that sometimes might be relevant, but in most cases irrelevant to a patient condition.
Okay.
So that's why we wanted to focus on breath, because we don't want to stop with one-off solution where it measures two things and then try to find value with that versus collecting a lot more information. So that's why we went into breath, and also from a data science perspective, we need more data.
Okay.
More unique data, and no better place than mouth that we can collect these health information.
Okay, so you've got the way to breathe in, you have the spirometer, so obviously that's helpful for someone with COPD, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
But then you mentioned saliva. Kind of what's the power of incorporating saliva into this panel?
Yeah, I think same like the breath, which I was saying, right? Saliva also contains a small concentration, not as much as you see in blood, but there's a small concentration of all these compounds, like any kind of biomarkers that can show if a condition exists within a patient or a user. So for early diagnosis, it's essential that we find this information from the body, non-invasively. And a lot of tech that are there that are focused on urine-based analysis, but saliva is shown to be the second best place where we can actually collect biomarkers. So that's why we are at a place where we collect both saliva and breath. And also another cool thing about our tech is we also collect information from the lips and blood vessels in the lips. Because if you could see, inside the lips, you don't have pigmentation like anywhere else in the body. Like if you see, like, I mean, Apple Watches, they collect information from the from on top of your skin. So there's a lot of pigmentation. So shining light and then collecting information from IR and other sensors, it's far more difficult versus collecting in the mouth, which is why like we established a platform more than a medical device. It's a platform
Got it.
where we can add like hundreds, if not thousands of sensors so that you can capture everything. You're not stopping with breath or saliva. You also collect from blood vessels and also use lips as a way to collect other parameters.
And my understanding is even as you're holding it,
Exactly.
you've got the grip of your hand. So,
Exactly.
Okay, so the platform idea is very interesting. I mean, in my experience with the market, what you have is incredibly unique. People are, and I'm guessing that's partly because it's challenging to put this all together. So tell me a little bit about that journey. I understand that you are unique because you got FDA clearance, approval. I think it's clearance, right?
Yeah, clearance, yeah.
Clearance last year. So tell me about that process and kind of where that puts you today in terms of coming to market.
Yeah, absolutely. We are only and the first and the only company today to have a device that can measure more than 10 vital health parameters. And for us, we had also the advantage of the only company that actually got a clearance in a single submission to the FDA. So for us, it's been almost an 8 years journey.
Wow.
So when we started off, and I've spoken about my mom in many of these interviews, so she has been the inspiration, and we wanted to build something that's far more easier for older population to use, something that's seamlessly integrates into the life flow of the user, and that's why this device came about. And also taking into account, we spoke to a lot of users trying to understand like how easy it is to use, what is something that they use on a daily basis. We found like a toothbrush or electric toothbrush is a
Yeah.
great example where people use that every day. It's an habit. They don't tend to, like somebody's not telling them to do it every day. So what we thought was like we took into all these things. We had a lot of user interviews to understand what is a requirement. Then we did a lot of assessment in terms of where we can collect all these health information. Then we put both those things together and then came up with the first version in almost like 2000, I would say 12.
Okay.
And way before any of these things existed. At that time, the tech was not available. When you're talking about machine learning or AI,
Yeah.
it was still at its infancy. So people always ask us, like, why do you have to measure all these things? Like, how is it going to help you? So for us, it's a journey, and then we went through this, like almost, we had a pre-submission with the FDA in 2015, and we actually got our clearance in 2021.
Wow.
So it took like almost 6 years for us to actually go through it. But the best thing is we had constant communication with the FDA and our FDA reviewers. So they have been phenomenal and very helpful, which is why we stand here, because most people think FDA is like really like
Adversarial?
Exactly.
Okay,
But
but not
they have
your
been
experience.
amazing. Like
Okay.
for us, it's
That's
been
great
a
to hear.
great opportunity. Yeah, I mean, that's something that I always talk about, because FDA is your friend, a partner who's helping to bring better tech to the patient community, and not somebody who's here to prevent your technology to be out in the
I
market.
love that. We'll clip that out. We'll send it to the FDA.
Sure, that would be
No,
great.
that's nice to hear. Let's talk about where the data goes,
Yeah.
because sometimes there's this fear, maybe it's on the clinician side, that a new piece of technology is going to just send a fire hose of data, and it's going to be more work for me to analyze it. So how are you making it so that it's usable for the clinician?
Absolutely. No, I think that's one thing that has been a constant question from hundreds of physicians who we have spoken to, right? They always ask this question like, hey, I love all these things. You're measuring all these different parameters. I understand the value it can create, but it's a lot more work for me. I don't want it to look into all these different data stream. If I miss or misinterpret something, then I would be under trouble, right?
Interesting. It
So-
creates an obligation
Exactly.
to understand everything you've been given.
Exactly. And that's why, like, even though physicians are optimistic and proactive in terms of helping patients and having a lot of data, they don't want to go to the trouble of, I think, understanding all these information and then like decoding those things, which is why we were working on this for almost 6 years in terms of, let's take all these data, let's simplify it, let's give one number or like an index that can actually tell you exactly where the patients are. So after 6 years of work, and last year we spent almost a year-long effort in terms of like managing and collecting data from over 200 patients who are veterans, like, or part of the VA health system. So we collected all these information, and we were able to retroactively validate our algorithm. So today we built something called ID, or AIDI, Aidar Decompensation Index. It's a simple index that's from, like, ranges from 0 to 1, where 0 is considered as the baseline, the value of the patient, and 1 is like considered as like high risk or somebody who's about to be hospitalized.
Okay.
So that is the only thing that physicians see, like from when they log into our
Interesting. Okay.
Aidar Connect platform. Physicians, first thing that they see is like in terms of what the patients are, what's their health trends are, but more importantly, they have one index number, which is ranges from 0 to 1.
Simple.
Right? So for them, they can easily understand, like, okay, where this patient is, and we give clear indications about like why this index number is this, what are the parameters that are causing this, and what are the weights that are given to these patients. So physicians have the full liberty to go change those weights, like change those baseline that we are creating.
Okay.
But for us, since we have actually validated it through a clinical trial, it's far more easier to showcase that. So, and we are very happy and excited to say that we have actually submitted to the FDA this algorithm,
Nice.
and we are expecting a clearance. Once we get the clearance, this algorithm and the index would be available for every single physician or care team member who's actually looking into the data.
Interesting. Let's talk about going to market, because what you have is FDA cleared, CE mark, right? You've done all that work. You've created something new, super helpful, and now you're at that phase that any startup hits, where you have to get this into people's hands at scale. You have to really start doing that work, and that is incredibly difficult. Just to change behaviors. Obviously, this has sort of niche or specialized, I should say, use cases, clinical trials, COPD, but it also has consumer use cases. So what are you thinking about how to get this into people's hands? What are your goals? What do you hope to see over the next couple of years? Do you want it to be more consumer, or do you want it to be more specialized?
Yeah. I think the ultimate goal is to have this device in at least 1 billion people's hands, right? So that's our goal, and we wanted to impact 1 billion people in a positive way. So right now, the challenge we have is, okay, scaling our manufacturing, right? So how many devices can we build? As a hardware like component, a company with the hardware components, far more challenging, because if you have to generate $1 in revenue, you have to put in like $1,000 ahead of like for manufacturing, setting it up, deploying it, and making sure everything happens. So which is why we are looking into where is the best place where we can touch more people with a limited number of devices.
Okay.
We found like nursing homes or senior living facilities.
Makes sense.
A fantastic opportunity. Plus also there are people who are there to support them and then provide them the device instead of expecting the patients themselves to use it.
Right.
So, which is why we're getting a lot of inbound requests from a lot of nursing homes right now, skilled nursing facilities, because they all wanted to apply this RPM or remote physiological monitoring programs, but they don't have the resources to do that. And today, the sad reality is, like all the nurses today have to take at least vitals from patients every day, at least three times a day. But because the technology requires like charging the devices, or it requires additional care, cleaning, and all those things, people don't actually take care of that. Even if they have like a really expensive like Bellshalin or other devices, they end up going to Amazon and buying the cheapest blood pressure cuffs and pulse oxes, which is not FDA cleared, and they have no idea it is, because their objective is like, hey, I wanted to take measurements, because unfortunately devices get missing. So I mean, we don't blame the nurses, because they are doing the hard work. They are trying to take care of patients, because they are kind of the real caretakers for patients, especially in a nursing home, which is why they're doing their best. So what we are trying to do is like support nurses with the best tech that we can provide, because today nurses use multiple devices, and they have to take down on a piece of paper and then again go to a system and then update those information, validate those information. Instead, our device, they just go in with the hand unit. Each patient gets their own mouthpiece. So they put in the new mouthpiece, have them take a measurement. The data goes to our cloud. From there, it goes to the electronic medical record. Right now, we have connected through Point Click Care, which is the largest electronic medical record provider for nursing homes.
Nice.
So as soon as they take the measurement, it goes directly there. So nurses don't have to even take
Wow.
any data.
No notes.
No notes. But we also give a tablet where if they want, they can put in notes. They can put in other factors because we don't measure parameters like weight. So they can actually use our device, our platform, to actually upload information about their weights or any medication information. Everything is there. And our platform also reflects whatever is there in point-click care. So it's a one system that they can actually rely upon and use it. They don't need any other system to use.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like the inflection point here that you're at is the factory side, making sure that you are able to produce these at the cost you need to in the right place, and then kind of breaking into skilled nursing facilities at scale.
Yeah.
And really,
Absolutely.
But then you mentioned the whole billion number, like that's sort of like that's just the beachhead, right? And then there's the sort of consumer. There's a lot of different use cases for this down the road.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to prove it out in different arenas.
Yeah, absolutely. And also from an algorithm development perspective, right? So right now we have the first submission on a software as a medical device. Once we get the clearance, then we need to start focusing on condition-specific algorithms.
I see.
So it's going to be, we already have like a lot of data from patients with COPD, heart failure, chronic kidney disease, asthma, and hypertension. Now we need to start like pulling out those data and showing like how the algorithm can be modified for each condition so that like that can be like separate submissions. So our goal is to not only build tech like sensors and add new sensors, but also build algorithms so that it actually augment whatever data that we are collecting and then make it as simple as possible for not just the physician, but also to the end users.
Is it fair to say that since you're doing both sides of that equation, the sensors and the algorithms, that's creating a bit of a moat around what you're doing because of the complexity of disease-specific algorithms that you're getting approved?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is hardware is our biggest moat, and I think if you've seen a lot of hundreds of companies there, they're relying upon other hardware companies. They're relying upon their own competitors to actually survive in their business. But we are the only company, small, but we're the only company in the world who has like hardware, software, and also the entire technology surrounded this device, so that we're not relying upon any other external sources, and it's all like integrated into one system, going all the way into EMR as well. So if you're using our solution, you don't need to find another avenue, another sensor or anything, but rather just use that to actually give a comprehensive picture of your patients or your members every single day.
Got it. Well, I want to see this get into more people's hands. If a person who runs a giant chain of skilled nursing facilities is watching this, what should they do?
I think they should reach out to me. Like I'm running this effort in terms of going to all these different nursing homes today. Essentially, like there's a new revenue opportunity. A lot of nursing homes don't even have.
You can get reimbursed for some
exactly.
of this.
Like RPM programs, you can get reimbursed. We also can identify within their like nursing facility how many patients can qualify for these programs and how they can get reimbursed. There's new ways of actually getting a single code so that they can like one physician can manage maybe thousands of patients, or one NPI number can actually be used, get reimbursed. So a lot of nursing homes are like the bigger ones are trying to take advantage of that, but still it comes down to technology support, reporting support, compliance. We have done that. We have the technology, the device, as well as the compliance support. Like essentially we can send them reports, we can help them to submit to CMS for reimbursement. It's a one-stop shop where we can do everything for the nursing home providers. All they really need to do is like trust us and then onboard us so that we can actually provide them with this full suite plus additional revenue opportunity.
Nice. Awesome. Well, it's been so exciting to watch your journey. Thanks for stopping by and letting me know what's going on. Seeing this use case, just a reminder of how many different groups can benefit from what you're doing, but also what a journey you're on. Each disease-specific algorithm, getting approval. You're doing the work year by year, and it's all coming together. So excited to see what you do next.
Thank you so much, Logan. It was, again, a pleasure talking to you again, and look forward to another conversation.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Startup Health Now. We'll be back again with another episode next week.